Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign putting on a full court press. On the other hand, Donald Trump, a total mess. Just take a look at the ratings for Vice President Kamala Harris's interview on Fox with Bret Baier, where she went into enemy territory and really exposed Fox's hypocrisy and really owned Fox. 7.1 million viewers watched Vice President Kamala Harris's interview with Bret Baier. Compare that to the 3 million viewers for Donald Trump's so-called town hall. And I say so-called because we at the MeidasTouch Network have exposed that it was one of these fabricated events where they filled the audience with Trump supporters in Georgia who they claimed were independent voters. They actually had a women's MAGA group organize it with Fox, and then they tried to cover it up. We'll get into that, but shall we just start with the full court press and what's going on? So earlier in Wisconsin, Vice President Kamala Harris was giving a speech. She also had her surrogates out there, and throughout the country, there were individuals, apparently MAGA people, who were there trying to interrupt Vice President Kamala Harris's speech. Let me show you what she did, though, when she heard them trying to cause chaos during her speech. Let's play it.
Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally. No, I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street.
During the same speech, Vice President Kamala Harris pointed out how Donald Trump's now going around the country gaslighting and lying to the American people that January 6th was a day of love. Watch this.
And reality check, we are the underdog, okay? And that's why I'm here with you, and you are taking the time to do the hard work that is necessary. It's why I'm campaigning for every vote, because I want and intend to be a president for all Americans. And no matter their political party, where they live, or where they get their news, okay? Last night, you may have seen I went on Fox News. And while I was doing that, Donald Trump was at a Univision town hall where a voter asked him about January 6th. Okay, so now we here know January 6th was a tragic day. It was a day of terrible violence. There were attacks on law enforcement. 140 law enforcement officers were injured. Some were killed. And what did Donald Trump say last night about January 6th? He called it a, quote, a day of love. Points out something that everyone here knows. The American people are exhausted with his gaslighting. Exhausted with his gaslighting. Enough! We are ready to turn the page. Turn the page. We're done.
We are done with that. As we said at the outset, a full court press, which also included surrogates like Mark Cuban, Bill Clinton, and others. We'll talk about that, but let's bring in my brothers, Brett and Jordy. How about that full court press, Brett and Jordy? And how about what Vice President Kamala Harris did, taking care of business on Fox? Bret Baier tried to throw everything at her, tried to set up with the questions, use manipulated and deceptive footage, and she was at her best prosecuting her case against a despicable felon, Donald Trump.
Full court press versus the full on mess. I love that framing right there. And that's exactly what we've been seeing. Vice President Harris, first off, she's been so fantastic. I mean, every day, but especially today, she was absolutely on fire, stacking her schedule with event after event after event, bringing the heat, bringing the fire, bringing the passion. She understands the stakes, and it's great to see her laying out the message so clearly like that. And I love the line that she said to that protester. It was so brilliant. She should have said like, oh, by the way, you might want to stay here actually because we have air conditioning here, and they don't have air conditioning at that other guy's event. But no, she was fantastic on Fox. I thought she was actually great. And Brett Baer, Brett Baer, while he, tries to pretend to be one of the more kind of normal hosts on Fox, he is very MAGA, and he was also pressured by MAGA people to be especially hard on her. They came at him heavy with the conspiracy theories. Oh, it's going to be taped before. Is it going to be edited? Are you going to hand her the questions? All this stuff. So he felt like he had to go extra hard at her. And I think it all backfired, especially in that moment. And we'll get to this in a little bit when he played that deceptively edited clip. And Vice President Harris did her homework. She knew what the actual clip was. And she said, I've seen the actual clip before. That's not what you played. You are gaslighting. You are lying to your followers. And it's refreshing to have someone to be able to call that out. All these Trump supporters, anytime Donald Trump does a very normal interview, right? And anything that's, going on to a debate stage or going into one of these economic clubs, they go, he went into the lion's den. And I'm like, that's the easiest one. I mean, they asked him what a tariff was, and he didn't know what a tariff was. That's not the lion's den. It's him not understanding basic facts. But this was actually a candidate going into the lion's den, coming out victorious. And I thought it was a breath of fresh air and great to see. Jordy, what's going on?
Can I just say this? I love that expression. It's time to turn the page. I don't know if I've heard her say that one before. I think I'm hearing a new slogan, folks. Time to turn the page.
I probably got to keep up with these rallies. She said it quite a bit. But
Ben's first time Ben heard it too. I can tell by his face. First time he heard it.
I'm gonna plead the fifth out of love for you.
He agrees with me. I have to turn the page. Turn the page on that intro.
Well, I'll tell you what we've heard over and over again, Jordy, at these Trump speeches. Medic, 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 right? We hear that when people are passing out because Trump doesn't have air conditioning or he can't afford indoor venues. So he has people outside in 100-degree weather, or when he does have indoor venues, they don't have air conditioning, or when he strands people, he gets the transportation to the event, but not back from the event, like we saw in Coachella. It seems like every event we cover, we're seeing this. People actually getting injured, sick, hurt, and screaming medic at Trump's events. Like in Oaks, Pennsylvania, Brett, you talked about not having air conditioning and people passing out while Donald Trump just kind of stands there. That actually happened. Do we have this clip of Oaks, Pennsylvania? What went down? Let's play it.
Trump's followers beg him to turn on the air conditioning after another person faints.
Issue this country has.
And then what does he do in Oaks, Pennsylvania? After watching people suffer, like the normal human reaction would be you get the microphone and you say, hey, medic, help them, get them water, let's do something. He just watched them and he seemed annoyed. And then moments later, he goes, let's just listen to music. And then for about 30 minutes or so, he just bobs his head as random music tracks are played. We'll talk about that in a bit. Back to Hope turning the page, which Jordy's never heard of. Let's show you Bill Clinton in Durham, North Carolina. He addresses Donald Trump's cognitive decline. He talks about his age relative to Donald Trump's age. Let's watch former President Bill Clinton.
I don't know how many more elections I'll be involved with, and I'm too old to gild the lily. Heck, I'm only 2 months younger than Donald Trump. Good news for you is I will not spend 30 minutes swaying back and forth to you. I I've played enough music. I will not clap offbeat. Nor will I pretend to be a conductor. Because we got a race to win. And we have to win it. I've been doing this a long, long time, and I can honestly say that this time I am not here running for anything anymore except for my grandchildren's future.
Here is Mark Cuban, one of the surrogates for Vice President Kamala Harris, talking about how Donald Trump doesn't even know what tariffs are. And Cuban's been a major factor in this election as a surrogate for Harris. Let's play it.
You know, in my career, I've learned a lot about business, including how tariffs work. Now, let me just ask you a question. You all know anybody who doesn't know how tariffs work? All right, I'll give you a hint. That other guy. Now, he has this crazy notion that putting a tariff of 60% on every single product imported from China is a good idea. Let me just tell you, this man has so little understanding of tariffs, he thinks that China pays for them. This is the same guy who also thought that Mexico would pay for the wall. So there's no Mexico. Did Mexico pay for that wall? Hell, no, you said it wrong. Hell no. That's what I'm talking about. You know, we all know that across-the-board tariffs are a tax on everybody. All the major economists have said so. Kamala has talked about it over and over again. But, you know, I'm going to give him a little bit of credit. I honestly think that he used to understand how tariffs work. I mean, back in the 90s and the early 2000s, he was a little bit coherent when he talked about trade policy. And he actually made a little bit of sense. But I don't know what happened to him. The way he's been thinking about tariffs and trade now, something's a little bit lost. And now his trade policies, particularly with tariffs, are basically just gibberish. Do you hear what I'm saying? Thank you.
You know, what we've been talking about here now for 3.5 years, 4 years, Donald Trump's cognitive decline, his serious mental health issues, his health issues. We've been covering it. And as I always say, it's not from a position of mockery, but we've been raising the red flag over and over again. And I think it is saying a lot that this is the closing theme, if you will, of this election. Frankly, I think that more attention deserves to be paid to things like Donald Trump potentially getting bribed $10 million from the leader of Egypt. I think more attention needs to be paid on Donald Trump's communications with Putin, Donald Trump's crime, the assaulting people and being found liable, Donald Trump being a felon. Personally, I believe that all of those things should be disqualifying. I think it should be disqualifying that Donald Trump led an insurrection, that he stole nuclear secrets. But I'll tell you, one of the things that seems to actually be breaking through in a way that other things haven't is the fact that Donald Trump is actually physically rotting in front of people's eyes. And what we saw in Oaks, Pennsylvania, Governor Kristi Noem of South Dakota frankly looked like a caretaker in a hospice, and Donald Trump looked like a patient who was just really suffering and unable to even put together sentences. Forget policy, he's not, this is what I've said before, he is not speaking in sentences. He can't put words together and form a thought. So at this stage, he's calling it the weave. And he goes, I weave. And all that means is that he's demonstrating dementia-like symptoms, Alzheimer's-like symptoms. Call it what you will. He is deteriorating, and he goes, I just do the weave. So he'll get asked a question. What do you think about this? Hydrogen cars, Hannibal Lecter, They're on probation, they're on parole, immigrants, migrants. They're coming in droves. They're coming in droves. The enemy from within. The enemy, they're more dangerous. You know that. And my dad used to tell me you could write letters, and if you write letters, there are people who write letters. You know what I'm talking about? Writing letters, and it's like, okay, what are you even? You're not saying thoughts and sentences. More on that in a bit when we'll go through all of that, so you can just see the evidence for yourself. Here is Governor Walz, Vice President Kamala Harris's running mate, talking about how this is the first time both Democrats are gun owners. On the other hand, Donald Trump couldn't even pass a background check to get a gun. Here, play this clip.
For women to make their own health care decisions. The freedom to drink clean water and breathe clean air. Those are the things. And I say this as a teacher and as a parent. The freedom to send your little ones to school in their best clothes so that they can go learn and be kids and not be shot dead in their classroom. I'm taking nothing on this. I'm a veteran. I'm a hunter. I went pheasant hunting last weekend. I own firearms. Kamala Harris owns firearms. This might be I don't know, President Clinton, this might be the first time that both Democrats on the ticket are gun owners right now. And it might also be the first time that the guy on the other side can't pass a background check because he has felonies.
One of the things I want to point out there, and we'll pull up the graphic maybe after the first break. So the NRA has been attacking Governor Walz for being a gun owner. It just shows you, Brett, you pointed this out, that they actually stand for absolutely nothing. So they posted a photo of Governor Walz, who was going hunting because he's a hunter, and he was unloading the gun. And they didn't even know that that's what he was doing, and they're supposed to be the NRA. It would be like if the NBA social media account called the slam dunk a touchdown. Like they have no clue how to even use guns at the NRA because it's not about guns, right? Guns are the pretext for them to bring in Project 2025 and fascism by playing on people's fears. That's what it's all about. The NRA writes, Tim Walz previously claimed he kept a shotgun in his car so he could hunt pheasants after football practice. This is Tim Walz attempting to load his shotgun this past weekend. And as a community note says, no, that's Walz unloading the gun. And then certain comments were like, clearly he's unloading the gun and checking the action. Someone else writes, your social media team is wrong here. He's either trying to unload the shells in the tube or he's induced a double load by hitting the bolt release. This is what he's trying to do. It's unloading. That's why he doesn't have any shells in his hand, and he's doing it in the safe way. Now, you would think that the NRA would be, this is incredible. We have another political party where they're actual hunters and they're all about, safe guns. And isn't that what? No, that's not what they're looking for. They want dangerous guns. They want fear, and they've really exposed themselves. And frankly, all of these groups have exposed themselves throughout this process. Brett, what did you say?
Yeah, it's like you said, it's like a Trojan horse there. And you saw it because Donald Trump, and we could get into this more in a bit, he's been canceling event after event after event after event. He seems to only be able to manage these events either when they are staged or when they are on just these kind of alternative podcasts. But when it comes to 60 Minutes, canceled. When it comes to NBC News, canceled. When it comes to this public NRA event, canceled. He did the town halls on Fox when they had literal plants in the audience asking him the questions. And even that Pennsylvania event, which we're going to get to more of, Donald Trump had all the people asking the questions were plants as well. And anytime Donald Trump gets out of his bubble and is faced with actual voters, like at Univision, it's a complete and total disaster. There's a reason why that happens. By the way, it's still a disaster even when there are plants in the audience. But in the NRA's notice about Donald Trump backing out of this event in a few days, they wrote, don't worry, while Donald Trump is not going to attend our event and we have to stop the event, we're still going to do everything in our power to elect Donald Trump this November. Like that shouldn't be what the NRA is about. If you take the NRA at face value that this is a gun rights organization, like you said, they should be thrilled that they have a major candidate on the presidential ticket for the Democrats is talking about hunting and shooting, and like that should be their dream, right? But no, they're a political operation. It's all one of these other kind of psychological operations. They want to, push all the horrific policies that don't even have anything to do with guns. And it's like we've said on the show, the folks, who go so in on these kind of Second Amendment arguments over and over, they are probably the ones who are using guns in the least safe ways. Like you see Governor Walz, he respects his firearm, right? He understands how to use it. Then you look at Lauren Boebert, she's posing with her guns with her kids, no finger on the safety, like has no idea what she's even doing. And that's a pattern you see repeated over and over and over again. It's the responsible gun owners that are actually pushing for responsible gun laws. And then you have the people who are dangerous, who are pushing for no guardrails whatsoever and are endangering our communities every day.
I couldn't agree more with you, Brett. And time after time, we see this. And when you go to the logical conclusion on where this ends, you always got to follow the money, right? Mm-hmm. When you look at what's going on with, all of these like school board people, so you're trying to buy the Trump Bibles instead of give people inhalers and divert $3 million in taxpayer money to Donald Trump. That's what you're trying to do here. Let's not forget the NRA bankruptcy case where the head of the NRA was taking yachts and lavish trips and all of these things from the money that comes from its people. When you talk about like the school voucher type people, you learn, this guy, you look at Arkansas, for example, the guy who ran the voucher program right there was making like $8 million a year. And then, I've had people look through this guy's background and, he puts on his LinkedIn like schools that like don't even exist. And so you always got to also follow the money of these grifts, and they often divert back to Donald Trump quite frequently with them. And they're not actually focused on any of these issues, but there's a lot of oligarchical entrenched interests with these billionaires, the Elon Musks of the world and the Rupert Murdochs of the world, who are invested in a post-democracy world where they could be Putin's oligarchs. They want that. They want to have that system, and they want to deceive and lie. And, we saw that on full display where Vice President Kamala Harris agreed to do this Fox interview, which, by the way, she destroyed Bret Baier. But even during the interview, Bret Baier showed deceptively edited clips from a fabricated town hall that Fox laundered a fake audience into, then edited the clip out to manipulate it, and then to confront a presidential candidate and Vice President Kamala Harris. And she picked up the hustle. She knew right away, and she made him look stupid. She goes, with all due respect, there's really that, which is kind of a way of saying F you. You've edited that footage. You manipulated the footage. We'll show you that and more. Let's take our first quick break of the show.
Support for today's episode comes from OneSkin. Did you have a little too much fun in the sun this summer? It's no secret that UV rays can take a toll on our skin, leaving it dry, tired, and less vibrant. If you want to hit the undo button on UV-induced aging, say hello to OneSkin, your secret weapon against the summer's toll on your skin. OneSkin products are all powered by the revolutionary OS01 peptide. This proprietary peptide is scientifically proven to reduce dysfunctional, also called senescent cells, a central source of skin aging. Their scientists have shown that it could actually reverse the biological age of skin by several years in their groundbreaking research. Healthier, more youthful looking skin doesn't just look great, which we all want, obviously, but it's good for your overall health too. As the leaves change color this fall, help your skin undergo its own transformation with OneSkin. Their products work tirelessly to repair, rejuvenate, and erase the signs of summer damage, ensuring you step into this new season with the healthiest skin of your life. Head over to oneskin.co and explore how their products can become your skin's new savior. And for a limited time, our listeners can get 15% off OneSkin with code Meidas at oneskin.co. That code is MEIDAS. Personally, I've been using OneSkin on my face, and I've noticed a real difference in how my skin looks and feels. I wasn't sure what to expect at first, but I was pleasantly surprised by how rejuvenated and hydrated my skin became. And it's not just about my appearance, my skin actually feels healthier. Here's a wild stat. In a third-party 12-week clinical study performed by contract research organization, OS01 Face was clinically proven to strengthen the skin barrier, improve skin health markers, and diminish visible signs of aging. Wrinkles were diminished in 87% of users. OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company. OneSkin addresses skin health at the molecular level, targeting the root causes of aging so skin behaves, feels, and appears younger. It's time to get started with your new face, eye, and body routine at a discounted rate today. Get 15% off with the code Meidas at oneskin.co. That's 15% off at code MEIDAS. After you purchase, they're going to ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. We only have one body, one skin, and only you can choose to make it better. Age healthy with OneSkin. Let's talk about creatine. Now, if you think creatine is just for bodybuilders or athletes, let me stop you right there. Whether you're looking to tone, bulk up, or just boost your energy and focus, Create's creatine gummies are a game changer. I'm getting so much focus and energy from these gummies that often I don't even need that second or third cup of coffee. Here's the best part. Create delivers creatine in a way that's super convenient. Gummies, not powders. No mess, no hassle, just grab a few and go. These gummies are NSF certified for sport, made with CreaPure, that's the highest quality creatine you could get, and they're vegan, non-GMO, and made with 100% natural ingredients. Plus, there's no loading phase, so you could just start taking them and feel the benefits. You've got 4 awesome flavors to choose from: orange, blue raspberry, watermelon, and my personal favorite, sour green apple. They taste so good that staying consistent is easy, and that's key to seeing long-term benefits like better focus, more energy, and even improvements in bone density and muscle protection. Being so busy with MeidasTouch, having something that's both convenient and effective is a big win for me. I'm no bodybuilder, but I've noticed a real difference since I started taking these. Creatine really works as advertised, and I love that I could take it anywhere with no mess or hassle. Plus, I just love gummies, so it's perfect. Now is your chance to try it out for yourself. Get 30% off any subscription or one-time purchase of Create's 90-count bags at trycreate.co/Meidas. That's trycreate.co/MEIDAS for 30% off your order.
Very good. Very
Let's
good.
go. Links in description of both YouTube and audio. Use the links, use the codes. Let them know we sent you. It really helps us and their fabulous products. Benji, where are we going next?
Let's take a look at the headlines over the past 48 hours on Drudge, which used to be, it is, traditionally conservative and right-leaning, just not MAGA. After Vice President Kamala Harris's interview on Fox, the headline read, "Cat Eats Fox." And the day before, the headline on its homepage was American Psycho. Speaking of American Psycho, here's what Donald Trump's been posting all day. He goes, "Why does Suzanne Scott of Fox News keep putting on third-rate talking heads like Jessica Tarlov, Richard Fowler, Patrick Murphy, Something Wolf, Keisha Lance, Bottoms, and other radical left lunatics that lie and make up statements with Fox, rarely having any counter to their storytelling?" And I go on and on and on. Then he calls for 60 Minutes to be shut down again in all caps. I do want you to note there who he's calling radical left lunatics, because in other clips that we've been showing with you, when he says that the United States military needs to be called on, he says radical left lunatics. So to be clear, it's basically anybody who disagrees with him is who he's referring to. When he says that there's an enemy within, he refers to him as radical left lunatics. And then when he defines who radical left lunatics are, they're basically anyone who's not MAGA. He says, this is what he's been saying in the campaign, he will send the military, he says, to kill them, to go after them, to round them up and use our military against our own citizens. That's his closing message. And that's what was deceptively edited during the Bret Baier interview with Vice President Kamala Harris, where she raised this very legitimate concern and Fox tried to cover it up as part of an event that they were already fabricating to begin with. That's why we say, again, I don't care what political party you're from. It's just Fox is lying to you, period. They are creating a show. They are creating scenery. They are creating fake events for Donald Trump because Donald Trump refuses to do interviews with 60 Minutes or anything that's actually reputable. And they set up these events for him. So, for example, the last event that they set up for him was this event in Georgia where they brought the women MAGA voters and they put them in a room. And I just want you to see right here what what they were doing, because we actually have images of these women voters right here. You have the head of the Fulton County Republicans right there, who was one of the people who was asking questions. And then you had another group, like the Republican Women's Federation of Georgia, actually organized the event with Fox. They then edited their Facebook post to say, we were so lucky to have the opportunity to attend. And it previously said, we are so fortunate for the opportunity to organize this event with Fox. So then Donald Trump gave this fake town hall in front of like a fake group of people. And then Fox was editing out when the people would say, hey, I'm a big supporter of yours. They would edit that out to make it seem like it was a group of independent voters. And Donald Trump still did horrible at it. But it wasn't even enough then. When he did horrible, then when they were laundering the clips at an event that they staged with MAGA female groups and pretended it was independent voters, they then edited out what he was saying and presented fake information to try to confront Vice President Kamala Harris. Like, that's not what news is. That is an adversarial, hostile political opponent. And if they wanted to show her the clips, the actual clips, and then say to her, hey, don't you think the American people want this? I mean, at least they would be being fair, not manipulating the footage like they were doing. So first, let's do this. Let me show you what went down at this fake town hall that Fox hosted. And then let me show you, in contrast, Vice President Kamala Harris's sit down with Bret Baier. The first thing I do want to notice, though, is the differences in ratings. Vice President Kamala Harris went into enemy territory, as my dogs will say. They went into enemy territory and destroyed Donald Trump in ratings on Fox. Just think about that. 7.1 million viewers for Harris with Bret Baier. Donald Trump only had 3 million in the Faulkner town hall in Georgia. In fact, Vice President Kamala Harris had as many viewers as Trump's women town hall yesterday, plus Trump's Hannity September town hall, another fake town hall combined. Just think about those numbers right there. So first, let me show you this. Donald Trump's asked very basic questions, like what can you do to get prices down? And then Donald Trump says, like, oh, you mean like donuts and stoves? Like he can't even answer the most basic of questions. Here, let's play this one first.
We're going to get the prices down. We can't just leave them up there because it's going to take too long for people to catch up. That's why I did the social security.
We have to like reset. No, I don't know how you reset to prices that are 4
You can
times
get the prices down.
So let me ask you,
by the way, energy brings everything down.
How does it trickle down? Does it work that the energy is also cheaper for the companies and so that the distribution? How does the pricing actually happen? Because the interest rates have come down and inflation rate has come down, but it's like we are going uphill constantly with these prices.
But interest hasn't come down very much and you can't get the money. Look, it really happens if you make donuts. You have the stoves, you have the dish. Everything is evolved around energy. And again,
no clue what he's talking about. And she's trying to feed him the answer that she wants him to say at an event that they fabricated with his own supporters that they are pretending is a women's town hall in Georgia to try to help him get women's support in Georgia. So then Donald Trump at this event mocks the family of Amber Thurman. Now, Amber Thurman, of course, died after not receiving urgent care needed for an infection under Georgia's abortion ban. And Donald Trump mocks the family and says that he will be getting better ratings than the family's appearance on the same day. Play this clip.
Amber Thurman's family have come out on a press call, and they're doing what's called a pre-buttal 2-hour town hall right now.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah? And I want to get
better ratings, I promise.
I'll get better ratings, I promise. Then Donald, I mean, just disgusting stuff. Then Donald Trump says that this is how sick he is. He says that he's the father of IVF. First off, what does that even mean? You're the father of IVF? What are you even talking about? Number two, it's your policies that have placed IVF, which was never in jeopardy because the Supreme Court's ruling and overturning Roe v. Wade now also extends to the types of procedures if life begins at conception, and that's how a state defines it, then doctors who engage in IVF assistance, IVF work, to the extent they fail, they can be charged with murder under the Supreme Court's ruling in many states that have now had the most draconian abortion bans, and they could be charged with murder and therefore not deliver IVF. And Donald Trump's response is, I'm the father of it. I mean, again, he's sick in the head. Here, play this clip.
All right, let's get this question because I believe that's what this is about.
Oh, I want to talk about IVF. I'm the father.
You don't hear that every day.
I'm the father of IVF, so I want to hear this question.
Yeah. Hi.
Why can't he be normal on any topic at all? I mean, from every aspect of this guy, he is created in the worst and weirdest image of America. I mean, he's got the fake makeup on. It appeared in a speech last week that he is quite literally soiling himself on stage at this point, spewing hate, saying that he wants to use the military against Americans, appears to be having dementia-like symptoms on stage, not putting sentences together. And when there are words together, it's stuff like this, where he goes, the real danger, this is what he said in this town hall, fake town hall, is the enemy from within. He goes, more dangerous than Putin. He goes, it's people like Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi. Play the clip.
President Kamala Harris has said you sounded unhinged and unchecked power is in our future. What do you say about that?
I thought it was a nice presentation. I wasn't unhinged. You know what they are? They're a party of sound bites. Somebody asked me, can they be brought together? You know, I never thought really, I wasn't thinking like they could, because they're very, very different. And it is the enemy from within, and they're very dangerous. They're Marxists and communists and fascists, and they're sick. I use a guy like Adam Schiff because they made up the Russia hoax. It took 2 years to solve the problem. Absolutely nothing was done wrong, et cetera, et cetera. They're dangerous for our country. We have China, we have Russia, we have all these countries. If you have a smart president, they can all be handled. The more difficult are, the Pelosi's, these people, they're so sick and they're so evil. If they would spend their time trying to make America great again, it would be so easy to make this country great. But when I heard about that, they were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. But think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
All right.
They're the threat to democracy.
This is a question.
I'm glad I got that
out. On the recent hurricane.
So Vice President Kamala Harris then goes on Fox. She agrees to do this interview with Bret Baier, which, by the way, she was absolutely incredible on. And she brings up what Donald Trump's been saying, not just in that fake town hall, but in all of his speeches. He talks about sending the military against American people, the National Guard, the military, against radical leftists, against Americans, he says. And then I want you to now see, because you saw that clip, let me show you how Bret Baier and Fox then deceptively edit that clip. They edit out all the stuff he says about the enemy from within and Adam Schiff and Pelosi. They just show the end of it, and she catches on, the prosecutor that she is, that Fox is tampering with the evidence on air, and she calls Bret Baier out in real time. I just want you to think about how smart she is. And she has to worry about him constantly interrupting her. He's always kind of planting, and he's someone who's been in the business for a while. He's a professional at what he's trying to do. He's trying to get her to stumble and get a soundbite where she can call MAGA people stupid. He's laying every trap, speaking over her, and then doing a deceptively edited clip. So she has to be thinking on all of those different levels and calls him out in real time. It's brilliant. Now that you saw the other clip, watch how Fox manipulates it. Play this clip.
If he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States, why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
I know, but
it's not supposed to be. It is not supposed to be a cakewalk for anyone.
So are they misguided, the 50%?
Listen,
are they stupid? What is it?
I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
We asked that question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall, and this is how he responded.
I heard about that. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
So,
Brett, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
Well, he was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you...
that was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America.
He's quoted in the Bob Woodward book that way, yes. Let me...
That is Baghdad Bob right there, which you may confuse him for Sean Hannity, Brett Baer, or Laura Ingraham. Remember Baghdad Bob, everyone, during the Iraq War, when things were going terrible for Saddam Hussein? He had his propaganda network. He controlled state-run media. Baghdad Bob would go out there and say, Saddam's never been stronger. Saddam is so smart. Saddam is all-knowing. We've never felt better. Things have never been greater. We laughed at that back then. We mocked that back then. But while we were mocking that, guess what was happening? The forces of fascism here were silently building. Rupert Murdoch and others building and creating their own version of that here. Human nature, the people in Iraq are humans. Americans, humans. People in Iran, humans. People in North Korea, humans. For as long as history of humankind, mankind, dictators have been able to gain power over people through propaganda. And America isn't immune to it. Perhaps we thought we were. We are not, especially when you have Baghdad Bob on steroids times 1,000,000, and that is Fox. And Donald Trump has climbed from National Enquirer crap in 2016 planting stories to Fox, and now this unholy alliance of Fox and Elon Musk and other billionaires who are lying every day to the American people and doing crap like that. A fake town hall with edited clips laundered where Vice President Kamala Harris shows up on that network in good faith, and then she has to fact check them in real time? It's ridiculous. And again, that's where I said, I don't care what political party you're from. You should look at that and go, no, not here. Not here. We'll be right back after our last quick break. So you ever feel like your morning coffee is more like a roller coaster than a smooth ride? Today's sponsor is for the caffeine junkies who find themselves in an endless cycle of coffee highs and lows. Mud Water is a coffee alternative to get your energy fix without your heart doing jazz hands every morning. Mud Water is like coffee's chill, yoga-loving cousin who went on a spiritual retreat and came back more zen and without any of the jitters. Imagine being alert and calm at the same time while not having trouble falling asleep at night. Not only does Mud Water give you that morning boost you need, but it's also packed with adaptogens, antioxidants, and all of those other fancy health words that make you feel superior to your coffee drinking friends. I've been using Mud Water for a few weeks now, and I've got to say it's a game changer for me. The blend I received had some chai, it's delicious. Hot chocolate-like flavor, my favorite. Just a hint of caffeine, my favorite part. No jitters, no crash. I felt focused and calm throughout the day. I even tried it iced like my usual cold brew. It was fantastic. Plus, the free rechargeable frother they send makes mixing it up a breeze. For a limited time, our listeners get up to 43% off your entire order, 43% off your entire order, free shipping, and a free rechargeable frother with our exclusive link. So head to MUDWTR.com/Meidas. That's up to 43% off your order at MUDWTR.com/Meidas, MEIDAS. After you purchase, they ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that MeidasTouch sent you. Start your morning ritual today, your new morning ritual, that is.
As you know, I'm a dad, and as the days go on, I'm learning that it's incredibly important what we give our children. Now, typically, children's vitamins are basically candy in disguise. They're filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and other gummy junk growing kids should frankly never eat. That's why Hiya was created, the pediatrician-approved superpowered chewable vitamin. Now, while most children's vitamins are filled with 5 grams of sugar and can contribute to a variety of health issues, Hiya is made with 0 sugar and 0 gummy junk, yet it tastes great and it's perfect for picky eaters. Hiya fills in the most common gaps in modern children's diets to provide the full body nourishment that our kids need with a yummy taste that they love. Formulated with the help of nutritional experts, Hiya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamin D, B12, C, zinc, folate, and many others to help support immunity, energy, brain function, mood, concentration, teeth, bones, and more. It's non-GMO, vegan, dairy-free, allergy-free, gelatin-free, nut-free, and everything else you could imagine. Now, Hiya is designed for kids of all ages and sent straight to your door so parents have one less thing to worry about. Like I said, I'm a dad and I want to make sure that I give my child the best possible vitamins, and that's why I'm so happy that I've come across Hiya Health. The ingredients are amazing and I don't have to worry about sugar or gummy junk because Hiya Health is made without that stuff and it's still able to taste great. Now, we've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. Now, to claim this deal, you have to go to hiyahealth.com/Meidas. This deal is not available on their regular website. Go to hiyahealth.com/Meidas and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. Let's go. Shout out Hiya. Shout out Mudwater. Links in the description. Love me some Hiya. It's fantastic. Definitely check that out. Use our codes. Let them know we sent you. Brett, what's up?
Well, Ben's on daddy duty. Ben's a new dad, so this is
Ben is a new
exciting
dad.
for us. And I'm sure some people heard the baby in
Thing
the
that we have
background
Hyatt
there.
as a sponsor.
Right? You hear the dogs in the background, you hear the babies in the back. Ben's got a busy house, so Ben had to go run to do some daddy things. So it's a Brett and Jordy podcast takeover for the rest of the show. I also want to let everybody know something pretty exciting. We are going to be airing a documentary on the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. It's the newest from Meidas Studios on Monday, immediately following the MeidasTouch podcast. It is called For Our Daughters. It is basically about the MAGAification, that was a disaster, of the evangelical church and how these churches have, a lot of them have lost their way and have been espousing values that are so far from the traditional teachings of the church. This is something that has been playing, by the way, throughout churches across the country, and it's about getting the church back to its roots and what it's meant to be. And so it's a really powerful story that really speaks to our time. And so you could go right now, if you go to youtube.com/@MeidasTouch, just to our YouTube channel page, we have a list of our movies right there, Meidas Studios, and you could see For Our Daughters. You could set your notification right now so that you're notified to watch it. And like I said, it's only like 29 or 30 minutes. So it's an easy watch in terms of length. It's a hard watch in terms of it's a hard story, but I hope you all join us on Monday for our watch party. Okay, let's get back to the clips here. So here's the thing, Jordy. There's a reason why Donald Trump has been canceling so many events lately. And you see, we could run through the list, right? Trump has canceled events on CNBC. He's canceled an event just recently on NBC. We found out today he was supposed to do an NBC. He refused to attend the 60 Minutes interview, despite at first agreeing to 60 Minutes. He refused to do a second debate. He refused to do a second debate with Vice President Kamala Harris. He's refusing to do a town hall with CNN by himself. And today he canceled this rally with the NRA that he was scheduled for. And so you're starting to see a picture of a campaign who is afraid to put their candidate out there in unpredictable situations, which is why most of the time when you see Trump out there, it's all staged, like this Fox interview that we've been showing you clips from, and like these other events we've been showing you clips from. However, occasionally they let him out of his little bubble and he goes on a Univision or, wherever. And those are the events. By the way, the other events are disasters, but these are the events that are like really disasters and a total mess. And so Donald Trump attended this Univision town hall yesterday. And while he was on Univision, he tried to give his same answers that he gives, his same comments he gives at his rallies about January 6th and about guns and about all these topics. But this audience was not buying it. I want to show you this compilation that shows you Donald Trump speaking about January 6th as a day of love. And you could watch the reactions that people have to Donald Trump as he is giving his answers. Spoiler alert for the audio listeners, they ain't too pleased. Watch this.
They thought the election was a rigged election, and that's why they came. Ashley Babbitt was killed. Nobody was killed. There were no guns down there, but that was a day of love from the standpoint of the millions. It's like hundreds of thousands. It could have been the way I used the water, the sand, the mixing of the sand and the water. Many different, but I've had many awards over the years for environmental, the way I've built, because about.
That crowd absolutely despised him and his answer. Like, I am pretty certain that Donald Trump lost voters, that will actually have an impact with him in those 100%. Communities by being on those networks. And that's one of the things that you see with Trump. And by the way, with Vance and a lot of these people is the more kind of people see them and are exposed to them, the more they're like, ugh, this is the worst.
It was the same thing with DeSantis early on too, when he was going for the primaries, is the more people got exposed to them. And it was something that we said was going to happen to Donald Trump, the more and more he gets out there. And Brett, this Univision versus the stage town hall that he had with Faulkner. Brett, could you imagine if for 1 second that Kamala Harris held a town hall with members of the DNC, with Kamala Harris supporters, all pretending to sort of just be independent, on the fence, swing voters. I just want to hear them out and see what's up. Could you imagine the Marjorie Taylor Greens, the Matt Gaetzes, the Jim Jordans all raising their voice and saying, we need to investigate this right now. This is a travesty upon, and by the way, it is a travesty of what happened with Donald Trump holding a town hall on Fox News, showing and lying to millions and millions of people that, hey, I'm going to talk and have a sit down with these voters, with these women voters, and I'm going to be there to answer their questions. And I'm going to answer and then, Brett, they deceptively edit it as well. This is a scandal unlike anything that I could really remember in the media landscape that corporate media is just letting slide. I watched just standard NBC last night to see how they were going to cover it, Brett. And they said, oh, this is just a town hall that Donald Trump's holding with women. No, it wasn't. This was a staged event. I mean, Fox News is essentially, Brett, just an extension and an arm of the Trump campaign at this point. And time again, corporate media just sort of allows this behavior to fester and metastasize. And it's poisoning the minds of millions of people, not just here in America, but across the globe. This is really propaganda 101, what we're witnessing.
Yeah, and we see Murdoch implementing this across the world. Like, they own channels. I know we have Australia listeners, and Murdoch owns channels in Australia that do the same thing. He owns papers in the UK that do the same thing. This is their strategy. And you nailed it so much. There would be investigations about this, like today, if this was done by the Democratic Party. And by the way, this is so indicative of kind of basically just how they do everything. And it's indicative of the utter projection of the Republican Party, where this is what they always accuse the Democrats of. This is what they always accuse Vice President Harris of. I mean, Donald Trump, we showed the post before, he's still complaining about 60 Minutes because they edited an interview down for time so that it would fit within the 60 minutes of the episode. And he has the nerve to say that's this big scandal. Where, no, that's actually what's been done in TV since the beginning of time. What Fox did by actually having MAGA people, some like Republican officials, ask questions at this event, not tell people that was the case, have the press, like all that stuff. That is actually one of the women in the crowd actually left her RNC delegate hat on. Let me see if I can pull up that picture. You could see it right here.
Of it.
Right. You could see there's the woman on the left whose name is Lisa Cawley, and she works for the Fulton County Republicans, a Fulton County Republicans group. And then right next to her, that white hat, it's a little hard to see in this photo right here, but it literally says on her hat, RNC delegate. Like, at least if you're going to try this charade, perhaps at least take off the hat. But it just shows you everything is a setup, and that's why they have to do it with Trump. And it's part of the reason, people always ask us, how is this race so close? How is this race? Because you have propaganda outlets like Fox. You have the most sophisticated, well-funded propaganda machines in the world right now that are pumping this stuff out as if it's North Korea. Quite frankly, I think North Korea, that lady who's on the North Korea TV, I think Baghdad Bob, I think they would blush looking at what Hannity's doing and what Brett Baer's doing and what these people are doing. I mean, it's actually insane. I could show you some of those clips too, but I do want to show some more of Vice President Harris on Fox because she went in anyway. I said on one of our takes about Fox today, she had 787 million reasons not to go on that network, and she did anyway, and she still crushed it. So right from the beginning, like from the very start, Brett Baer, she wouldn't let her get more than like 5 words in before interrupting her. And so Kamala Harris had to be like, let me finish. And then Fox, before the interview goes, the interview started with Kamala Harris interrupting Brett. No, it was the opposite. She had to fight for her time because Brett Baer was trying to run all over her to try to not let her talking points in. Here was this was like the beginning of the interview.
Before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the... Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish,
You had the White House and the House and the Senate, and they didn't bring up that bill.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem. And from day one, then, we have done a number of things, including to address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges, what we needed to do to tighten up penalties and increase penalties for illegal crossings, what we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border entry points. That's the work we did, and we worked on supporting what was a bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, to actually strengthen the border. That border bill would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border, which is why I believe the Border Patrol agents supported the bill. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, which is a scourge affecting people of every background, every geographic location in our country, killing people. It would have allowed us to put more resources into prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, which I have done as the Attorney General, former Attorney General of a border state.
Madam Vice President, a couple of things.
Like, that is the way to handle that interview. And so it had to be combative the entire time because she had to get her voice in the entire time. And she did a great job. But to go to my point before about this being like, that even like a Baghdad Bob and the North Korean lady who does the presenting there would blush. You go to Hannity that night, and Hannity is in full-on propaganda mode, like to the max, and it's just so overboard. Let me play this just as an example.
He didn't let Kamala off the hook. He pressed her. He pressed her repeatedly. Needless to say, I'd say the joy is gone in the Harris campaign tonight, and her obvious anger, that was on full display, the one she's notorious for.
And you know what? That's why Sean Hannity gets paid more than $20 million a year or whatever he gets paid to do just that. That's why Fox is such a well-funded operation, because they want to push exactly that. It's opposite land, quite frankly, in Fox. And one of the ways you can know if Vice President Harris has a direct hit is if by how angry they get. And but it's like a hit dog may holler. When she crushes it, when she does a great job, what they have to do is they have to go, oh, it was the worst thing you've ever seen. It was horrible. She ruined it all. With Donald Trump, it's the opposite. You could tell how disastrous a Trump event is by seeing how is Fox trying to hype it up? How are they trying to act like this piece of crap is actually good? How are they trying to polish that turd, so to speak, Jordy? And so Donald Trump the other day, he held this, he was at this event at the Economic Club of Chicago, and he couldn't keep it. Do you like that one? Huh?
Is that an expression? Or that's a real thing?
I've heard it before, for sure.
Okay. Take your word for that.
It's a good one. So he couldn't even keep a coherent thought during this economic club forum. And so he'd be asked like a question about Google, for example. He'd go on another tangent, and the moderator would have to be like, Mr. Trump, we're talking about Google here, actually.
Should Google be broken up?
I just haven't gotten over something the Justice Department did yesterday, where Virginia cleaned up its voter rolls and got rid of thousands and thousands of bad votes, and the Justice Department sued them that they should be allowed to put those bad votes and illegal votes back in and let the people vote. So I haven't gotten over that. A lot of people have seen that. They can't even believe it.
The question is about Google, President Trump.
Yeah.
Now let's see how North Korea, how Laura Ingraham covered that right there.
Now, how many politicians can step out on stage with no notes and lay out the intricacies of U.S. trade policy, the Federal Reserve, interest rates, etc., with a hostile reporter? Now, I can count how many people can do that on like one hand.
It wasn't
with
even
a hostile reporter, Brett, because he let him speak. He was hostile. And notice how Laura is covering that. No videos. We're just going to show photos on stage. It's so terrifying, Brett. I really, truly mean that. And then we go back, because I still can't get over the Faulkner, the town hall, Brett. When we're playing those clips, one of the things I wanted to comment on, to just take us back a little bit, was when Trump starts to go Alphonse Capone. And you know what Faulkner does? She stops him right away, right? Because hostile for Laura Ingraham, Brett, is letting Donald Trump speak. What Faulkner was doing was trying to protect Donald Trump by feeding him answers about trickle-down economics, about the answer that she wanted him to say, or when Trump started to go into the Alphonse Capone, to stop him from saying that and quickly pivot and change the subject. What they're doing, Brett, they're protecting Trump in the most dastardly way. This person is not a healthy individual. And I don't mean that to be rude or just what we're seeing without him releasing these medical records is honestly truly scary, Brett. It's a deterioration of what looks to appear to be some mental health like collapse in live time. And he's got this entire propaganda network that's trying to tell the American people that this man is healthy, that he is perfectly fine, that he is a genius to be able to defend his economic principles on stage with a hostile reporter.
Here's the fact. Fox, people like Fox, Elon Musk, they view Trump as their useful idiot, right? All these people are kind of using each other in all these weird ways. And they kind of view, well, this guy's going to get all of our billionaire interests. And right, all we got to do, we flatter him, we pump him up, right? He's basically a blank slate to all of our crazy stuff that we want to do, all that Project 2025 stuff, all the whatever. All we got to do is just hype him up, butter him up, tell him he's amazing, tell him everything's great, and he's going to do all that. Is it going to bring, authoritarianism to America? Yeah, but, we could handle that, right? We could handle that because we're going to be thriving, and it doesn't matter what the little people, what happens to them. We're going to be thriving. We're going to get richer. It's really just they view this guy as an empty vessel for the billionaire class. So they protect him at all costs. And hostile, Jordan, they also think hostile is the guy going, all right, here's a question about Google. And Trump goes, well, January 6th, or whatever he says, and they go, it's about Google, and they go, oh, hostile, whoa there. Just very basic corrections, like Mr. Trump, actually, that's not how a tariff works. Whoa, what? These are just basic facts. It's not a hostile thing. Bret Baier was the definition of a hostile interview. And so it's always projection. So it's always, wow, could you imagine that he could handle the intricacies of policies and how incredible? Yeah, and actually, he didn't say anything. He sounded like an idiot, quite frankly, for lack of a better word. He made no coherent sense whatsoever. It was a complete and total disaster. And we are seeing that repeatedly every single day. And Jordy, we're going to track this every day. We're going to be watching for these various cognitive moments as we over the past few years, because there is a person there in decline. There is a person who is a threat to our country, and it needs to be called out, and it needs to be called out unfiltered. No euphemisms for it. No, well, he might have told some possible falsehoods. He lied, okay? He lied. Actually, he seems to be having a concert at his events now. He didn't have a concert. He was unable to answer questions, and he started playing music and waddled around for 39 minutes, not answering anything. What are we doing here, media? What are we doing, people? So, on that note, I need all of you to remain vigilant also. Also, I want you all to check out this interview that Ben did earlier with Simon Rosenberg and Tom Bonnier. They went through all the early voting data, which is quite encouraging. And I want you to see that. I want it to inspire you. And I want to make sure that you are all registered to vote. If you're not registered to vote, make sure you do that if you still can. And if you are registered to vote and haven't voted yet, but can vote, vote now. Vote. That is your number one task. I want that to be your number one takeaway. And then beyond that, encourage all your other friends who are pro-democracy to get out there and go to the polls. It's going to be a turnout game. The polls aren't going to matter, but who goes to the actual polls is going to matter. So keep that top of mind. Also, I'm excited to see all of you at our watch party Monday after the MeidasTouch podcast episode for the MeidasTouch premiere of the For Our Daughters documentary. It's about 29 minutes long. We will see you there. You could hit the notification right now to notify me by going to our YouTube channel. You'll see the movie right there. You can click it. It plays the trailer when you click it, so don't get confused. Nice. But you'll see the trailer right there. You can learn more about it, and you hit notify me. You'll get notified when it goes live. It should be Monday right after our episode of the MeidasTouch podcast. Jordy, anything else before we sign off here?
Two quick things, Brett. Just one, if you're still watching, thanks for joining us tonight's episode. This was wonderful. But please make sure you also download the MeidasTouch podcast wherever you get your audio podcast. So it's the MeidasTouch podcast on Spotify or Apple or iTunes, wherever you get your podcast. Download it. Leave a comment and a 5-star review on whichever platform you're able to. It really helps the show. It really helps us, and it just continues to grow it. And plus, we're putting a lot of our hot takes that you see throughout the day, maybe on the YouTube channel, or that, quite frankly, you might miss. We're putting those also on the audio channel, so you could always get your MeidasTouch news and the news updates or the pro-democracy updates of the day wherever you are with the audio feed. Brett, back to you.
I want to do this plug too. So we released an article yesterday. So Trump's that disastrous event where he just waddled around for 35 minutes and answered 4 questions. We did some investigative reporting. Our researchers did a fantastic job. It's on MeidasPlus.com, which is our new Substack. Go check it out. You could sign up for free. A lot of the articles are free. Some are behind a paywall because we got to support the thing somehow. But join as either a free or a paid member at MeidasPlus.com. MeidasPlus.com. We did a whole breakdown of the people who asked the questions at Trump's event in Pennsylvania. We discovered that 2 of them literally worked for for the Republican Party were actually just Republican plants. We have learned that a third was a January 6er, and we are currently tracking down who the fourth person was to try to find their connection to the whole thing. But it just shows you everything is a scam, and it shows you that your support goes even far beyond like this show. It's this entire network, this operation of our researchers day in and day out, putting in the work to expose these events for what they are. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Jordy, want to take us out?
Shout out to the Meidas Mighty!
The Meidas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. The film Against All Enemies, which I co-produced with Ben Meiselas and this network, has won awards around the world for its up-close portrayal of America's insurrectionist movement. It premieres in the U.S. on March 29th on Amazon and Apple TV. Go to againstalllenemiesfilm.com or click the link below. But don't just watch Against All Enemies. Tell your friends about it. It's one more way to hold accountable those who threaten our democracy. Thanks, Meidas Mighty. Let's use our power well.